Good morning. That was a low-key good morning, wasn't it? Rumbly throat. Good morning. How are you? Hope you're very good. It's 20 to 9 and it's Friday the 30th of September. Tomorrow will be October. Wow. Imagine that. Well into the autumn. Here we come. Now we're on a bit of a mission, aren't we? This week or over the next couple of weeks, really, because we're gonna roll into next week with this. Because I'm working through, and I'm working through this in my head. So some of these might work out better than others. I'm working through this in my head in terms of a book idea I've got, which is Give Me a Year. The premise of the book being that it's difficult enough to make changes, and we certainly can't make changes quickly. We make changes over a period of time. And if we're going to embed those changes, it probably takes a year or a good length of time. So we need to, I think one of the weaknesses of the human mind is that we expect transformation quicker than it actually occurs. And never is this more of a reality for me than my current endeavor to lose some weight. I might have mentioned this in a previous one, so that I can have a little hernia repair in my abdomen, and I'm blogging about that at wasteland.substack.com. So I'm having to talk about that now. Never, it's no more prevalent, this idea that it takes a long time. And I think weight loss is a great example of this, because it seems to go on so quickly but come off so slowly. But except it doesn't, does it? It creeps on when you're not looking, and it creeps on over a long period of time, and then takes a long time to come off, because you're then watching it. And I think that's one of the problems, isn't it? It's the watched kettle never boils scenario, isn't it? That if we're pin sharp focused on a particular thing, observing it all the time, it seems to take forever. And there's something about just immersing yourself in it and understanding that throughout the ups and downs of the journey, it has to be a long-term strategy. So with my weight loss, it's no good me thinking, right, I'm going to have this sorted by Christmas. That'll be the classic this time of year thing, wouldn't it? And earlier in the year, I'm going to have this sorted by summer holidays. And that way lies folly. And it's the same way with this stuff. It's the same way that I'm largely focusing in this little series of lives on a morning. I'm largely focusing, I suppose, on workflow or just getting organized, even just getting your life organized, So that's what we're kind of that's what we're embroiled in here at the moment. That's what we're talking about. So Monday we did we thought about 10-year plans. We thought about the importance of charting a course. And then Wednesday, we talked about setting your harbours up. So we talked about the whole year. You've got your 10-year plan, or maybe a 5-year plan. I think the longer the better with the long-term plan. And then we talked about how we have to then think about what we do in a particular year to drive us towards achieving that plan. It's not achieving the plan. It's thinking, right, this is the plan. This is where I want to end up. Here's all the things I need to break it down into. And and as David Allen says that we can do anything, but we can't do everything. So if there's a whole lot of stuff that needs to happen to hit the plan, and some of those things might take a long time. I mentioned on Monday, I'm in the middle of a 10-year plan, 5 years in. The 10-year plan was started when I was 50, takes me to when I'm 60. And part of that plan was about financial independence. To open up options when I'm 60. And that's not going to happen overnight, is it? Paying things off, saving money, doing all those kind of things, particularly in the ups and downs of the world we live in, and things happen, don't they? You have to replace your boiler or, whatever. So you need a long-term plan, but you have to then create behaviors across individual years. And as we're going to talk about today, individual months and indeed weeks and days. And we'll come to that next week. You have to create behaviors that work you towards these goals, and we're working towards it incrementally, aren't we? We're working towards it incrementally so that we just make little 1% gains. And anybody that's ever had a credit card knows how compound interest works. And these, it adds up slowly. It seems to add up slowly to start with, but then it compounds, doesn't it? And it starts to add up really quickly. And that's the same with these 1% gains and advantages we can make in our lives in the way we kind of approach things, and taking small steps and seeing the benefit of those small steps, albeit small benefits, motivates us on to the next thing. And motivation is the thing that I wanted to talk about, because we've talked 10 years, we've talked 1 year, we're going to talk a month, and it starts to feel, now that we've come from 10 years to a year to a month, it starts to feel that a month is a short period of time when compared to a year and 10 years. But actually, it's not, in terms of staying focused, because one of the things that we know about motivation, which is what I want to talk about, because I think we have to figure out now, we've got our big plan, we've got what we want to do for a year, we've got our goals, if you like, we know what we want to achieve in this year. How do we stay motivated across, never mind across the year, across a whole month, because that's going to prove hard. I don't know, I'm about 12, 13 days into the diet, and I can already feel, I'm getting weight every day. And today I've put a little bit of weight on. It's only a small amount, but I've put a little bit of weight on, and I can already feel myself thinking, oh, bag of crisps, oh, bit of cake. I can already feel my motivation to stay on this 100% fading already. So across a month or a year or 10 years, it's going to fade massively, isn't it? So how do we apply ourselves? Well, I think it's Simon Sinek says this, and apologies if you've listened to me very recently, because I'm pulling together a few strands here and a few things that I've talked about over the last month or two, and into a whole here, I suppose. And Simon Sinek says that that we have a goal, and we try and figure out how to achieve that goal through creating a system. And then we expect the system and achieving the goal to change our identity, to change the person we are. Morning, Pete. Big wave. And Pete's got a cup of coffee by the looks of it. Good to have you here. So Simon Sinek says that we start with goals, create systems, and then expect that to shift our identity. He says the problem with that is it's in the wrong direction. He says we've got to start with our identity first. So I have to create the identity, create the motivation and the driving force of thinking, I am going to be someone who is fit and healthy. I am going to be someone who nails this diet so that I can achieve having this operation that I want to have, that I need to have. Okay, I am that person. Not I'm going to achieve the goal of losing 2 stone or whatever, and I'm going to do it this way, and then I will be that person. I am that person now. And he uses an example of smoking, which is quite old fashioned now, actually, because I've tried this out, and not a lot of people smoke these days, or a lot less. But you could do the same with alcohol. You need to be confident in the statement. I am not a smoker. I am not someone who drinks alcohol. I don't drink alcohol. I only drink alcohol very rarely. I only smoke very rarely. Whatever it happens to be, we have to start with identity, then build a system, then hit a goal. And what that does is it roots the motivation internally in us. What sort of person do I want to be? What sort of husband? What sort of wife? What sort of social worker? What sort of nurse? What sort of colleague? What do I want to be? And we root that internally. Then we think, right, here's how I'll do that. And the goal is that, and we get to that goal by creating this identity. The Stoic philosophers, who that I love, they make the wise distinction between knowing that actually our happiness comes from these internal goals and not from external influences, because we understand in identifying what we want to be where our control lies. And the problem is our control doesn't lie in external things. I couldn't help yesterday that somebody brought cake to a meeting. That was an external factor. I couldn't help that some of that cake was left in the house yesterday. That just, I could have got her to take the cake away with her. Wasn't going to happen. But what that means is that if my internal motivation around cake isn't strong enough. I eat the cake and I ate the cake. And that's why today I've seen a small weight increase. So I wasn't rooting myself. I was rooting myself in this external influence. So we've got to try as much as we can to root ourselves in internal influences. Who do I want to be? What do I want to be? In terms of intrinsic motivation, there's another concept comes to mind, which is Deci and Ryan's self-determination theory. And they say that our intrinsic motivation varies across our continuum of autonomy. So that's the same thing as the Stoics, isn't it? That's the same thing. It's saying that where we have the ability to be autonomous and make our decisions. I suppose the cake thing, lovely as it was kind of imposed. I wasn't autonomous around the provision of cake. I don't know, I'm just using that as an example. There are bigger examples and more important ones. But, when we're intrinsically trying to intrinsically motivate ourselves, we become, because it's a continuum, we become upscuttled, if you like, by extrinsic, external factors. So we've got to keep an eye on them, and we've got to try and minimize their impact by returning ourselves to our identity. Who am I going to be? What's the purpose here of my identity? What is my identity? What am I trying to achieve? And there are a few things. There are a couple of things that I think are important in this. And one is passion. And passion is rooted in your identity, isn't it? What are you passionate about? What is it that really kind of gets you motivated, gets you up on a morning? I'm gonna dial back. I've just thought of something. One of the things that's really important here is when you're feeling a lack of motivation, the thing to do is to put in effort, right? Because one of the things that we do when it comes to motivation is we sit waiting for it to happen. I'm not feeling particularly motivated today around doing a blog or writing that report. I'm feeling particularly motivated. I'll wait till motivation strikes. And actually, the more contemporary research around motivation says, actually, if you just get off your backside or sit down on your backside and actually do something, that will motivate you on to the next thing. Just one little thing. What's one little thing I can do? And I suppose that backtracks to David Allen's idea of what's the next thing? What's the next important thing I need to do to achieve whatever bit of work I'm trying to achieve? So effort begets motivation, not the other way around. Not motivation begets effort. Effort begets motivation. And that relies on a little concept called the power of small wins. And the power of small wins is really important because when we do when we take one little step, and that's why over this month, you need to find those 1%, because if you take one little step and you tick it off, go, yeah, I've took that step and I've been successful, it motivates you on the next thing because you get a little dopamine hit whenever that happens. And dopamine is our feel-good hormone. So passion is really important, and passion moves us beyond bringing only our cognitive and physical drivers to the table. Passion brings emotions and enthusiasm and vigor. That's what passion brings. And I appreciate that some of us sometimes find ourselves working in jobs where we're not particularly passionate about them or passionate about elements of them. But what we need to do is find, and this is the Stoics again. The Stoics say you've got to find the joy in everything you do. And for me, sometimes the joy is just getting it done. You know what I mean? My joy in this is not the doing of it. My joy is in the getting it done. But equally, the more we can enjoy the process, the better. So you have to find the joy that exists in some of these things that you're doing. You have to find the joy in them. And even if that joy is, let's get this done excitedly and get it out of the way and get it off the back. And the other thing that is going to motivate you across this month to achieve your annual goals and your 10-year goals is having a growth mindset. Often we have a fixed mindset, and I'll go back to my current diet endeavor. I have a fixed mindset about diet and weight, and my friend Jamie, I keep saying things to Jamie like, oh yeah, but I'm just a big fella. Do you know what I mean? And I'm all right with that. I'm all right with being a big fella. It's okay. I've always been a big fella, and I'm still fit and I'm still healthy and all that kind of thing. And I've got a fixed mindset about my weight. But if I drill down into that, I'm not happy. And I'm a big believer that if you are weight X and you're happy with weight X, whatever that is, happy days, crack on, keep going. That's lovely. That's brilliant. And I'm not happy with that. But I have a fixed mindset about it. So I need a growth mindset about it. Is this Carol Dweck, where I read about this first. I can't remember the name of her book now. I think it's called Mindset. I think it's just called Mindset. I'll find that out. You need a growth mindset. Is like, yeah, I can be different. I can achieve something. And the way you're different, full circle, the way you're different is around establishing your identity. What is my identity? Not what's my identity going to be. My identity is not going to be a fella that's lost £2. That's an extrinsic motivator. My identity is going to be a fella that's fit and healthy and feels comfortable in his body. And if you feel comfortable in your body, that's a big bonus, isn't it? Whatever your body looks like, that's a big bonus. If you don't, we need to try and figure it out. For me anyway, this is a personal reflection. I need to find a way to be comfortable in my body, and so I need a growth mindset. So motivate yourself intrinsically. Find your identity. Set up your system. Go for your goal. Motivate yourself intrinsically. Utilize passion. What are you passionate about? Do that as often as possible, and have a growth mindset. One of the things, I suppose, finish with this, is one of the things that boosts motivation is exercise, because of the stimulation of blood flow. Getting outside boosts your motivation. All of these physical things. I mean, motivation seems like a nebulous kind of concept, doesn't it? Kind of, it's an in here, it's a brain, it's a brain mind kind of thing, isn't it? But it's not. It's a physical thing. Manage your energy first, not your tasks. Manage your energy first, not your diary, is what a lot of the guidance would say. Because if you've not got the energy, you've not got the motivation, you don't get the tasks done. Anyway, there you go. Finally, it's Friday. So as you know, Friday is the most important day of next week. So when you get to this afternoon, plan the living daylights out of next week, and you'll have a better weekend, and you'll start the week on the front foot. There you go. Have a good weekend, and have a good Friday, and then a good weekend, and we'll see you next week. We'll into the nitty-gritty next week, into the nitty-gritty of days, weeks and days, with this Give Me a Year strategy. Okay, take care. See you soon.